Today's daf is daf Ayin Hey. We're finally wrapping up the laws of the rebus of interest, and in fact, some of the things we discussed before is finally mentioned here in the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, "Loi yoymar adam lechaveira." A person should not say to their friend, "Helveni, lend me koir chitim, lend me." Let me remind you that we learned before that if I borrow, let's say, a saw, and I buy a saw of wheat, a certain measure of wheat, and I'm going to pay you back that same measure of wheat, it's a problem with the Rabbanon. It's like avakari, because could be the price will go up, and I'm giving him the same amount. So now the Mishnah says here, a person should not say to his friend, Halveni, lend me, koir is 30 sa, a large measure of wheat, and I will pay it back to you at the time, the threshing time, which is later, and then there's a possibility that'll go up in price. It's not the ribas mahatera because you're not doing it through an outside, through a money loan, straight out loan. There's a possibility. What you could say is, Halveni, lend me the money we had this before already. Until either my son comes, or I have it available. So remember, we learned there are two exceptions when you're allowed to do saw b'saw. One is if yotza hashar, if the price is already fixed. So if I say lend me wheat, I can pay you right now. Yeah, so I lent you wheat. You can pay me back right now with the exact same price, even though it might go up in price later. But since you could have given it back to me, paid me back straight away, therefore, because it's available everywhere, therefore it's what do you call it? It's as if you've already paid the malva back, and any increase in value, it's the malva's increase. Even though the fact that the malva didn't get paid, but because the whole thing is only midrabanan, so the moment we have, we're very lenient. The fact that it's available right now, so at this time there's no ribis here. The other exception is if the loiva happens to have this particular item that he said I'll give back to you, he has it. Not somewhere else, in another garage or something else. And because he has it somewhere else, therefore it's as if he already gave it back to the malva, and any increase in value is the malva's increase in value. And we know that from here. It says, until my son comes, until we have the key. This is called yeshlei. Big machlekes rishonim here. How to learn pshat. The Rambam says, why give such a strange case until my son comes, until I find the key? Just say, I have it, yeshlei. So the Rambam learns that yeshlei only works because when you do not fix a time when you're going to give it back to him. You said, till my son comes. When is your son coming? Until I find the key. When are you going to find the key? Because there's no kriya zaman. No, but there's two exceptions. One is Yotzer Shah, which you can do straight away, and one is Yeshlei. Says the Rambam, you know when Yeshlei helps? This is how the Lechem the Rambam. You know when Yeshlei helps? Only if you don't fix a time when I'm going to pay. I'll pay back soon. So then it doesn't look like ribas, it's all right. But if you make a time in 40 days from now, 50 days from now, I'm going to pay you. So then the fact that Yeshlei doesn't help, because the fact is that I don't owe the money right now. So who cares if it's Yeshlei? In other words, and other Rishonim hold it makes no difference if you kaveh man, you're not kaveh man. If you have Yeshlei, it's as if you give it back to the malva, and any increase of value is a malva's. So why is the Mishnah choose such a case? The chiddush here is, even though it's not, you don't have access to it. That even though you don't have access to it, it's called Yeshlei. That's the machlekes rishonim. So you don't hold like the Ram, you hold like the other Ramban and others. And then within that there's a machlekes rishonim. What happens if you don't have access to it because it's not here, it's in another city? The Mordechai says if you don't have access, you don't want to use it right now. You want more, but you don't want to use it right now. The fact that you could pay him is enough. So somebody showing the Mordechai holds, and I'm not sure like the Mordechai, that if it's in another city, that's not called Yeshlei. Here it's in the city, just that you don't have ready access. But it's another city, like we had before the Gemara, it doesn't count. Others say it doesn't matter. Now, Bekitza, the base of the machlek is possibly, I haven't seen this in the Achrayim, but the base of it could be like this. When I say to you that here's a loan of $100, you have 60 days to pay me back. So how do we understand 60 days to pay me back? Is the pshat, you owe me the money every single day, but I will not collect from you. I cannot force you to pay me back for 60 days. No, it's a din in the malva. Or the pshat, you don't owe me the money. The chiv only kicks in day number 60. Till day number 60, you don't owe me any money. And that's the difference. If you hold that you owe me the money every single day now, then yeshla, even though I don't have even though I'm kaveh man, the fact is, if I want to pay you back today, I can't pay you back today because I have a chiv right now. So they've already paid it back to you, the malva, and the malva, any increase in malvas. Yeah, but doesn't not because I don't, not because I'm not because I can't, not because there's no chiv. In fact, we'll talk about it in Mabas of Hay. But then, what do you call it? But the Rambam learns that no, there's no chiv until day number 60 comes along. So what helped me yeshloi? But you didn't get back to me because you have no chiv. Why should you get back to me? So we don't say that. Okay, let's continue. Then Gemara says the Hillel oises, Hillel asses. Hillel asses. Now there's a big controversy. Who in the world is this Hillel? Because we know that Hillel argues with Shammai 3 times. Remember, we had the no machlekes until Hillel and Shammai, mainly based the Talmidi Hillel and Shammai. There were only 3 arguments of Hillel and Shammai, Zachakel, as it's in Zacharias, and then there's another one, a Smicha, and that's it. The Smicha is like long list in the Mishnah. Where's this argument coming? Who is this Hillel? Big argument. This Hillel is somebody else, a grandson maybe, not the Hillel that we know, or maybe it is the Hillel that we know, and then you have to wonder why it's not included in the argument. Unless when we say there that the argument is only Hillel and Shammai. Here's the argument with Hillel and the Chachamim. So Hillel and Chacham had been other arguments, like Koidach. Hillel was Koidach Matzah Mor. It's not part of the 3 arguments, and he was arguing with the Chachamim. Who are those Chachamim? So maybe when we say that Hillel argued with Shammai, that's Hillel and Shammai. But Hillel could have argued with his peers more times. Koidach and right here. And yeah, Hillel doesn't like this yeshlai business. A woman should not lend a loaf of bread to his friend. First work out, you can't say I'll lend you a loaf and give me back tomorrow a loaf. But what happens? The price goes up. But if you say I'll give you a loaf of bread, it costs $1, then I owe you $1. So if tomorrow the bread's $1.20, I'm only give you $1. So it should be ribis. Damim. And the Chum obviously argue. And we'll see in the morning. The Chum obviously argue, and this case as well, especially such a small amount of just a loaf of bread. Says the Gemara, Yesh Rav Huna says that the Yesh only works has to reflect the amount of the loan. If the borrower has a saw in his warehouse, then he can only borrow a saw. Yeah, if he has 2 saws in his warehouse, he borrows 2. Rabbi Yishchak claimed, "Afilu yesh lo saw lo kama koydim." Even as long as he has 1 saw, he can borrow as much as he wants. Now, what's the logic in that? Because we imagine that even though I'm lending you 30 saw, we do 1 saw at a time. It's as if the first saw is reflected by this 1 saw, and at the moment I lend it to you, you can eat your saw up. It doesn't matter. So now it's available again. So the next saw is for that, and therefore, based on that logic, the machlekes are showing. So can I give you the whole 1 lump sum, the whole 30 saw, or do we have to give you each saw individually in installments? The Rivan and another Rishonim argue. No, it's the chayvus pays all right. The question is, when does it work that you can have 1 saw by the loive to say yesh loy and the lender can lend you 30 saw? Then some Rishonim say that the lender, if the loive has no yesh loy, what the lender should do is give him a little bit, even a drop of that, and then based on that, you can then now lend him whatever you want to lend him because he already has. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. So give him less. Look at here. To prove that to support him, it's called tipas yain. Ein loy. It says tipas yain. If he doesn't have, you can't lend to him even a drop. Tipas shemen ein loy. Yesh loy. If he has a drop of oil or drop of wine, how much can you lend him? As many as he wants. And the Rishonim want to prove by tipping, they're all mixed together. You can't separate 1 drop from another drop. They're all mixed together. So we see clearly you can give a lump sum. Anyway, the Hill, I said, I'm not going to halacha to be halacha Hill. Halacha like him, halacha like Chamim that you can. Says the Gemara, but Shulchan actually, there's a big machlekes Rishonim is halacha Shmuel like the halacha like the Gemara concludes not like Hill. No, but should it be machmir that when you lend? In other words, they want to say there's a difference between you say the word loiva or you say the word shoyel. And in English, we don't have a difference. What's the difference between a shoyel you borrow and loiva you borrow? There's no difference. But in Hebrew, loiva means that I'm going to give you back something else in its place. Shoyel means I'm going to give you back the very same item you gave me. So someone is want to say that if you use the word shayla, it then doesn't look like a loan at all, and then it's permitted. But and Hillel who asks, and maybe we should be machmir like Hillel is when you use the word loiva. So in Yiddish or in English, any other language, I don't think it's a difference. Not that I know of.
With this thing on Shmuel, so the reason that's Yochid that halacha could be Hill, and the Chazal say.
Yeah, Shmuel generally when it comes to dinim, the halacha is like Shmuel, like dinim against Rab, but in this case we say the halacha is not like.
Halacha could be Hill.
Exactly. Yeah, and yet in halacha, some are machmir to be like you. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the hill. Chacham say loving stam upoidim stam. Chacham say yes. You don't have to fix a dollar amount. I can lend you a loaf of bread, and you give back a loaf of bread. Why? Because it's such a small amount. We don't think the price fluctuation is going to be that dramatic that we're going to say, "Oh, it looks like it is," and all that. Learning Shmuel, B'nei Chabud, if you have a group of people, let's say traveling together, or they're sort of on holiday together, they are very particular and very pedantic, and they are, the Chas V'Shalom, they should be generous, they're very stingy and tight ones. Oivrin, if you, no, but these people are not meichel even the slightest amount. If you have a little bit more than me, they're ready to get all upset. So when they if they ever share, they measure. Okay, you're going to have 10 pieces. I have to have 10 pieces also. You're going to have this size piece of steak. I'm going to have the exact same size piece of steak. You have a foot long hot dog. My hot dog has to measure exactly the same. So these people are makbid. Are either mishemida measuring shemishka because weighing and misheminian because counting, or mishem loving upoidin if they borrow or they pay. And Yom Tov, you're not allowed to say, I want to borrow or I'll pay, even though you're allowed to go to the store and take things, because if you say borrow or pay, we're scared you might write a document. Big machek is a shaynim, if the word be Yom Tov is referring also to mid, the mishkol, umi. So many of the shaynim hold, we're talking about Yom Tov, not during the week. During Yom Tov, the problem is you're not allowed to weigh anything on Yom Tov, even though you're allowed to weigh in your hand on your Yom Tov. You're not allowed to weigh on the scale. You're allowed to weigh in the big, the big shaila matzah pesach. You're allowed to put on the scale if you want to know size or more. But if you're allowed to weigh in your hand, but not here. Exactly, because they're mamish weighing it. Oh, you had this and different. I want this. It looks like Uvdin Cholok business. Depends. We're talking about Bava. Yeah. We're talking about you're just doing it. Time. You don't have an idea what it is. But if it looks like a commercial arrangement, which is exactly what it is, you took 10. I'll take. You took a 5 ounce thing. I got to make sure those are 5 ounce. That looks like Uvdin Cholok. But others learn that Yom Tov is only referring to love and the party. The first part is talking about Geneva. You can't share with these people because they're so particular and they're never meichel. So if you're going to deal with them and you're going to count, and if it's a slightly more or slightly less, then somebody here is a ganef. So you shouldn't share at all. Okay, even the hill, after the hill, if you follow hill, even ribis is a problem. Just even little amounts of food is a problem with ribis. Tamid Chacham are permitted to borrow from each other ribis. Now, what it mean? It doesn't mean that you allowed mamash ribis. We're talking about these small amounts. There are meichel. My time, you made the yoda the ribis asura matan the yavadadi. So even though they give, bring my chalej talking about food here, or just food, or even my money. That by food, even if they give you back a bit more than you gave them, it's a matar. They know you're not give it, because they're not paying it back as a loan. They're giving you whatever you gave them. Plus, they want to give you a matana because you're a Talmid Chacham. They want to give you something. They would have given you a matana even if you wouldn't have given them the bread in the first place. That's why the Machlekes and Shloch says by Michael this works, not by money. Shmuel wants to Abu Badi, Halveni may palpulin. I want you to lend me 100 peppercorns, the may of the Essen palpulin v'arich. I'm going to give you 120. V'arich is good. Again, it looks like ribis because it's Tamil Chacham. They know it's not ribis. He's giving him some as a matana. You're allowed to lend your children with ribis. Let them feel the pain. What it comes when you borrow $100 and you have to pay back 120. So they should never get into that addiction of lending with ribis. But we don't think it's a good idea because sometimes you have sometimes people on mechanic they force the kids to smoke. And when you're young, you can't really smoke it. You cough and you choke on it, so they'll never want to pick up a cigarette again. Others argue, say no. You introduce them to this thing, and what happens if they like it? It's your fault. That's the machlekes in chinuch. Now, what's the sweater? Why would you even think that you're allowed to lend with riba? The fact he's doing this in the Torah, you're lending mamash b'ribas. So the Rambam, the way they learn Pshat in the Rambam is a fascinating thing. Actually, the machlekes how to learn Pshat in the Rambam. But the Ramban and others learn this. They say we're talking about children who live with their parents, are under his care. So whatever they own belongs to the father. So there's no ribas here because whatever they're paying him more, it's the father's paying himself back from one pocket to the other pocket. So there's no ribas here. But he just wants them to go through the motions of ribas as if they feel that, oh, look at that, how much actually you have to pay. And I had a guy work who went to one of these loan payday, I don't know what you call them, that he borrowed $500. and they said you only have to pay back $10. Was it $15 a week? Took him 3 years to pay back $2,000. He ended up paying, and then he realized, as I said, you should have just talk to us.
So angry, bent over a credit card. And she knows how that works. And like you said, it says on the bottom of the bill that that's $20 a month. She thinks it's a Machaya and tries to explain it.
Exactly. This was saying, yeah. Anyway, the Lechem Mishnah has a very modern pshat. He's trying to learn pshat in the Rambam that it's actually the father who's borrowing from the children, and because that's how he tried to learn, which is very difficult to understand. Because then how is he teaching the kids? On the contrary, the kids are happy; they're getting back more money than that didn't hurt them. They gained. Anyway, next Mishnah. A person said to his friend, now we're talking about ribas. The ribas were expanding. It's not just money. It's not just money. As I say to you, Nachesh imi, I say to you, you know what? You go ahead and you weed with me, and then tomorrow, next week, I'll weed with you. You're allowed to say that. Why? Because we're doing the same activity, and if I'm not giving you back any more than you gave me, I can say, you plow with me, and I'll plow with you. You shouldn't say, you know what, do me a favor. You come to my garden today, help me weed out all the weeds, and tomorrow I'll help you plow. Because the two different jobs could be plowing, it requires more effort. And why am I doing it for free? Because you did me a favor. That's like this. They don't talk about it, but you're gonna have to assume that it's similar tasks. What do you got? Or if you do two different jobs, maybe one is more difficult than the other, and therefore, why am I doing it for you? Because I didn't pay you, and then the fact that I'm not paying you, so you were aganated, and I'm paying you back by doing the work for you a few time later. The entire summer, if we do it in the summer, you do one part or another summer, it's considered one. And Rashi says the idea of the summer is not just the condition of the land, whether it's similar land, it's dry, whatever, but also the length of the days. Because in the winter, if you work with me during the day, how many hours is it? And the summer is long, but within the summer itself, there could be quite a range of days, and yet we don't make that distinction. We don't make. I'm not sure why. Because it could be an hour and a 2 hour difference. All the days of the winter are the same. You shouldn't say, okay, you're going to work with me in the summer and I'll help you out in the winter. Either because of the length of days, so you're paying out less, or because of easier or harder to do whatever you have to do. Rabbi Gamil says, yes, sometimes you can pay interest before even the loan took place. I give you a gift. Why? Because I want to entice you to give me a loan. So the only reason why I gave you the gift is to get the loan. That's like ribis. I wanted to borrow from you. He sends him. I'm telling you, I'm giving you a present, but I specify it's in order that I want to take a loan from you. No, but you have to connect, because it's even mukdemis. You have to connect that gift to the loan. Zui ribis mukdemis. Love hey menu. What happened? He borrowed the hechzelois meisav, and then Mushalech he sent him. That alone is not bad. But because you allow me to have the money, then zuhi ribis muchetz. So if it's not at the same time as a loan, it only becomes ribis if you connect the dots. If you don't connect it, it's not ribis. If she goes a step further, there's ribis dvarim. You should not give him any information. Let's say if it wouldn't have been for the fact that he lent you money and you have some information, you wouldn't really offer it to him. Then now you're offering him because he gave you a loan. That's ribis. You're giving him extra. This guy's coming to this in a place. You shouldn't say that. The following people are over Avedis, the Malva, and when it comes to a case of ribis, who's involved? Everybody gets entangled. Is the lender, the borrower, the guarantor, because without the guarantor there wouldn't be an agent. They facilitated the whole thing. The Chacham say, also the Sefer is over. Now that Rav Shimon says that seems that Sefer is not over because he wasn't there at the time of the actual loan, and therefore he's too remote from the actual event. But The Chacham is saying no sorry because he's a facilitator. What's the oivet? What are the Vedas? Mishum leisitain, you shouldn't give interest. Mishum al tikach miita, you shouldn't take from interest. Mishum leitiloi kenoisha, you shouldn't be a lender. Mishum leisil of neshech, you shouldn't do interest. And we had before there's neshech and marbis, they're all different lavin. Mishum evil sit in michshel v'yareisel kechani Hashem. Who's over what? We'll see in the Gemara in a minute. Says the Gemara, Tanya, we learned. How do you know? He takes it even further. If a guy lent you money, how do you know that if generally you wouldn't say good morning to him, and now you say good morning, or even you nod your head, that's called ribus. You're doing something extra purely as a result of the loan. Then you're not going to it says in the pasuk that you should not give neshech, you should not allow him to accept neshech from you. And it says neshech kol davar ashi yishach. Kol davar, we touch davar as if it's deeper words, even words, extra words that you would not have said. I feel deeper also.
Where do you draw that line?
You can't do hakoros atoy linking it to the ribus. You can't. The question will allow you to say thank you. If you allow you to say thank you. So remember in the Mishnah it's also if you connect it. If a week, 2 weeks later you go you give the guy some flowers and you don't connect it at all to things, then maybe you're allowed to.
Immediately, so like 101 peppers, and
for that's coming the Chachamim who know that it's not that you don't do ribis, and it's purely a matan that I would have given you anyway, unrelated to the fact that lending me and this. And remember we said that's only by food, which is only ribis rabbanan. This is straight out ribis. A guy lent you money, and you gave and straight out loan. They
does that mean?
He says like
sorry,
this.
Does that mean that therefore someone's given you a loan, you've paid it back, and then you give them a loan? The only reason you're giving them a loan is because you've had a connection. So maybe that second loan shouldn't be allowed.
Because
for the first loan.
Good question, but maybe because you don't say, "I'm giving you the second loan. I'm giving you a loan because you lent me." If you would say, "Oh, you were kind enough to lend me money, when I needed it, I will lend you money in return," that might be a problem. I mean, that sounds like it will be a problem because you're connecting the two. But if you don't mention a word about the previous loan, then maybe it's all right. There's the Gemara. Amar Abaye. Abaye says, Malva Oiva Bekulim. The lender, he's the worst. He's over every one of these psukim. Loiva, what's a loiva over? He's over the following. Oiva Mishum, Leisashich Lachicha, that you shouldn't enable your friend to lend with the ribbons because you're paying him back. And Ulachicha Leisashich, the same thing. Your brother, you shouldn't enable him to get the collecting. Let's say the Mixel, you're over the Orev v'ha'edim ain't ovim the Orev, the guarantor, and the edim. What are they over? Ela mishum loisa siman olav neshech. Shouldn't enable neshech to take place. Now the question is, why aren't the Orev and the edim over? Or at least the Orev lifnei over. If it wouldn't be for the guarantor, the loan wouldn't have take place. So how come there's no lifnei over over here? So Taisa says like this. When are you over lifnei basing more psachim the chabeis? When you over if the nazir is standing on the other side of the river and he asks you for wine, he has no access to that wine, so therefore you gave him the wine. Lifnei iver loisid michshel. But if you're standing right next to you, he said, "Do me a favor, could you pick up the wine, pour me a cup?" He could have done it himself, or he could have got someone else to do it for him. So then there's no lifnei. So no, betray avra denora. That's when there's lifnei. But chad gisa no. So our Gemara is talking about over here. There were plenty of other people who are available to be guarantors. They would have been the guarantors. So therefore, you're not able lifnei either, which caused a big problem in halacha because there's a steer between Taisus and Shabbos Dav Gimel and Abayzer Dav Vav and Taisus here. What about the Issa Messiah? In other words, even though Mahat Torah, you're not able lifnei either, but Midrabanan there's an Issa Messiah. You're not allowed to help the guy do an Avera, even though he could have done it on his own or with somebody else. You didn't have to, but still you're Messiah. So the Ramos says there's a machlekes between the two Taisus and the Rosh and all that, and so on. And he says the halacha is there's no Messiah, but the Shach says there's no machlekes. Those Taisus that don't the Shach like this. When is there an Issa Messiah? Messiah is not from lifnei iver. Messiah is from hachiach techiach amisecha. So by a goy, there's no Issa Messiah because there's no mitzvah of hachiach techiach by a goy. And he goes further. Yisrael Mumer. There's no Issa of Messiah by Yisrael Mumer. So if you have a trade for, yeah, according to the Shach, Oh, the Noid of Yehuda comes out. The Noid of Yehuda comes out strong against the Dogma Baba. Comes out strong. This is Kufman Lav, I think it is. Comes out very strong against the Shach. We're talking about Yisrael, Alpha Pishachot Yisrael. You can't help the guy doing a Avera. This is the question about if you have a restaurant and people go sit down and eat bread without washing. Are you over the Eastern Messiah? Or not over the Messiah? Even, they could have gone to another restaurant. But now the fact that you're supporting him and so on. So, others say that no, that the reason why it's not a stereo is Taisus is only talking about sukkim of the Torah. He's not getting our mission is not talking about Isurim the Rabbanon. Everybody say, yeah, we brought all the sukkim of the Torah. Yeah, but this guy, he's not Yisrael Mumer. So those that say Yisrael Mumer, who's Yisrael Mumer? Those that Yisrael Mumer, you're not responsible, Messiah. You're only responsible Lifnei Ivet. There's no Lifnei Ivet. Could have gone to any other restaurant. But those who say, the Noida Yehuda says that even a Yisrael Mumer, a person who habitually sins, others want to make a difference between Shagib and Mezid.
If while he's milking, it's straight for flesh, comes to me by caution of flesh.
If you have a restaurant where you have a fleishige restaurant and you have milking coffee and you give a hechsher on the place, even if you're not able to, if you're never able to say, because you are, the people don't know that it's milking. Yeah, they're doing a very. But if somebody comes to your house to eat and they have to wash and they don't wash, is there a problem? Isa Messiah, because you now enable them to eat bread without washing. Yeah, exactly. And to take it further, if you invite somebody to your house for Shabbos, they would have driven anyway, but they're coming now to your house for Shabbos. All these questions come up. Okay, so Gemara says further. Those people lend ribas, he said, are foolish because they think they're making profit. Actually, mafsidim, they're losing out. If you remember, we learned before that if people lend ribas, they lose all their money. Remember Abchama, because he thought he'll be cute, he said, I'm renting you my money, and he became poor. Mafsidim, not only that, are they saying that Moshe Rabbeinu is smart? What are they saying? When they're saying that I'm going to lend the ribas, you said you shouldn't, but I'm going to lend ribas because I know the value of money and I could have made profits and now I'm lending it to that person. But I mean, they say, it's as if you're saying, Tantamon is saying, even knew their prophet, like you never would have banned it. He asked Abdim came on and he said, how do you know if you lend your friend $100? But he doesn't have. Also allowed upon him. You're not going to press him or put any pressure on him to pay. If you know the guy can't pay you right now, you're not allowed to put pressure. Don't be like an oppressor, somebody who's constantly haranguing him. It's as if you are giving him two punishments. Remember, it says that if you ride we die. Rashi said from different words, Ashana, which is Rashia, which is to be a lender, then Bonu Ba'esha B'mayim, as if you're giving him two punishments. Not only is he destitute, but also you're pretty pressured. Anyone who has money, and you lend them without any witnesses, you're a nice guy. Because you're allowing the guy to come tomorrow and say, I don't never borrowed from you. And you put him in a position that he can commit an aveda. But the Shloki says, worse, that you are actually causing that he will curse you, or people will curse you. Who are they going to believe more? The guy said, you owe me money, and the guy said, I don't talk about, I never borrowed a cent. Who are the people believe more? That's it. Shanemar, it says, Te'alamna, that if you silence, Sivse, Sheket, the voices of lying, they will talk against the one who's righteous. Because they're going to go around saying that you did, it's all that you made up a story. Once the Rabban Ravashi, that Ravina is so special that he always fulfills every obligation that Rabban say you should do this, he complies. I'm not sure exactly what the big Kiddush is. You would think everyone does that. But anyway, Shalach Lei, so Ravashi wants to test him. This is his friend, Ravina Ravashi. In fact, we're going to learn it soon in the Gemara in a week or 2 weeks that Ravina Ravashi the ones who finished the whole Shas. So they were like, they wrote the whole Shas. They were partners. So he wanted to test him. Right before Shabbos, he said that let me $10. I just found a little piece of land. Now remember we learned in Gemara Gittin that Rav Ashi is one of the wealthiest. He was unbelievably wealthy. So I'm not sure why Ravina would even fall for the ruse. I need to buy a little piece of land. Give me $10. Maybe it was acid rich and cash poor. Shalachle, he said to him, Neise Mar Sadi. Ravina said, no problem. Bring me witnesses, and I'll write it down. Shalach le afila no nami. He said to him, you don't trust me, Rav Ashi? Shalach le koshkem, I don't trust you. The Torah begins say, you're so busy learning, mishple, you'll forget v'grenikol and you're going to cause that, well, latzmi, you're going to want people to curse me. Beautiful story, I'll tell you in a minute, if you can leave, I'll put it on the thing here, about this very thing that just happened here. So what we learned? Big why didn't he just say do an IOU? Instead of saying, okay, you can't find Adim right now to Shabbos, how you find Adim? So Rabbi Ashi could have said, I'll give you an IOU. So you want to prove from here that an IOU, if I have an IOU, you have an IOU that says I'll pay you, and then I said, but I paid you back. Unbelief. Even though there's an IOU, unbelief. But otherwise Rabbi Ashi would have suggested that. What about me learned? I mean, would have suggested. What we learned? Three people who shout and scream, but it doesn't matter. It's their fault. They laying Mishi Yeshle Moy. Someone has money. A Malba Eisen Shalei Beid. He lends without witnesses, and then the guy denies he ever borrowed. Shouldn't have done that. Next, Hakoina Odon La'atzmei. If you buy a master for yourself, we'll see what that means. And the third one is, and the Gemara doesn't have to explain, Mishi Ishtei Moshelis Olav. That he has no control and his wife controls. Yeah. What's the story? He says, see all this money here? It belongs to the guy. And then 2 days from now, so therefore I can't lend you, every time the people ask for tzedakah, it's not my money. And then 2 days later, the guy said, okay, I'm coming to collect. And he goes to court and says, yeah, but it's mine. You said all this time there was a guy's. Others say he actually gave it to the guy to hold, and he told everybody it's the guy. You see, it's by him. And then the guy said, okay, I'm keeping it. He can rather say, in order not to pay taxes or whatever it is, he gives all of his assets to his children, and then the children say, get out of the house, goodbye. And he said, what do you mean? It's really mine. Your fault. Others say Others say that, let's say that the bishla, that things are not working well for this place, and we have a rule, Mishana Moka, Mishana Mazel, and he doesn't want to move. And then he complains why his mazel is no good. He should have moved. Let me just say a beautiful short story. The Rashash, Shlomo Strashin.
One that's in the back of Shash.
That's the one back in Shash. That's the Shlomo Strashin. So he is a very wealthy man, and he puts his Perush in the back of the Gemara. And he, but I don't know if he's a prince, but he's a very wealthy man, but he paid for Shash. So he was, he lent money to a poor person in the city, and the time came to pay up, whatever it is. And a month or two later, he goes to the poor person and says, you owe me X amount of dollars, you haven't paid me back. And the poor person said, I paid you back. So what happened was the poor person came in to pay on the day, but Ashash was giving a share to his Talmidim. So the guy went in and gave him an envelope, and Ashash put it into his Gemara, he's in the middle of a share, forgot about it. So the poor person, said to him, I paid you. Ashash, you're gone if you owe me the money. Of course, who did the whole city believe in this case? They all believed in Ashash. The poor person was fired from his job. His son, who was nobody was interested in his son anymore. And they took away his rights from everything right that he had, they took away from him. He was a pariah in the community, completely. Anyway, came out of Pesach, and the Rashash was going through his Sfarim to predict his chametz. Suddenly he found this envelope, he opened it up, and sure enough, from this guy, he paid him back. He felt awful. He called the guy in, he said, look, I apologize. I apologize, you ruined my life, completely destroyed my life, nobody believes me, and I have panos, I have nothing. So the Rashash said, you know what? I have a daughter that has to get married. You have a son. Make a shidduch. We make a shidduch that everyone will realize that I was wrong. Otherwise, why would let me shadduch with you? And kachada. And at the chassid, the Shash says, it says in Gemara that every zivik is bashar. There's no way in the world that my daughter will ever marry this guy's son. So the Abishah made this whole ruse over here, this whole scheme. So that in the end, to bring the two neshamas together. I don't remember all sorts. But that's what he's saying over here, that you're going to forget. You're learning and you're going to forget. Okay, good day. See you tomorrow.